The Roush Cold Air Intake will be for the 2015 and newer 5-liter truck owners out there looking for an extremely popular, no tune required cold air intake from one of the most trusted names in Ford aftermarket tuning. When installed, the Roush will help you pick up a little bit more power, a little bit more sound, and throttle response as well. Price point for the intake here is going to be right around $400, and it's going to get an extremely simple 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter from me, with a little bit more detail to come on that later in the video. But let's not waste any time and let's just jump right into the numbers you might be able to expect when bolting up the Roush Cold Air to your 5-liter powered rig. Now, Roush claims gains upwards of 13 horsepower and 19 foot-pounds of torque when using their Coyote-specific cold air intake without a tune. And I will say that is very solid, very nice gains for a rather simple modification like this without the help of a tune. But I will also say that that's going to be best case scenario for most owners out there. Realistically, anytime you're adding a cold air like this, you're looking at high single digits, double digits, teens, something like that, without the use of a custom tune, which, by the way, is still very commendable, again, given the simplicity of the modification. So how does Roush go about achieving more power and more torque when using their Coyote-specific intake? Well, they claim 31% less restriction with their aftermarket system in place, and anytime you free up restriction, you're usually going to be looking at a little bit more power and a little bit more torque, as that is the case here. But let's switch our focus over to the quality and construction with the Roush Cold Air. And if you've had a Roush product before or you're familiar with the brand, you probably know where this is going, right? Awesome build quality and an even better fitment. And that certainly is the case with the 2015 and newer cold air that we have here. You are also receiving one of Roush's high flow dry filters. It is washable, it is reusable, but it is not an oiled filter, which tend to dominate the market. So if you're looking for a dry filter, you are in luck here with the Roush. However, if you do prefer one of those oiled filters, you can find a number of them in the category here at AT. Now, along with that dry filter, you are also receiving the 85mm intake tube from Roush, roto-moulded plastic for the construction there, and of course, all of your hardwares and couplers needed for the installation. The centerpiece of the kit, however, for me is no doubt the injection-molded airbox, which is really nicely made and does still incorporate that cold air ducting from the front of your truck, dumping all of that nice fresh cool air onto the filter while sealing out all of that hot engine bay air thanks to the included weather stripping that does seal to the underside of your factory hood. Moving on to the installation, and as we pointed out at the very top of this video, gang, a very simple day in the garage or shop to get any cold air intake installed, the Roush included. So we're going to call it 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter here, maybe 30 minutes to an hour of your time, depending on how fast you like to work, of course. And as far as your tool list, well, even simpler, right? A basic socket set is really all you need, but a flathead screwdriver might help you out a little bit here as well. Getting started, you will need to remove the factory intake tube and airbox first before proceeding with the Roush installation. So disconnect the coupler at the throttle body, unplug or unhook all of your connections on the intake tube, and then use your socket to remove the factory airbox from the engine bay. With the factory stuff out of the way, you can get to work installing the new Roush Cold Air Intake. Now, me personally, I like to assemble these things on a table or a workbench first before dropping them into the engine bay, as I feel it's just a little bit easier that way, but you can do whatever works best for you. If you were going to assemble this thing on a workbench first, this just simply means slapping those couplers on, getting the clamps ready to go, assembling your airbox here, and then putting everything together and dropping it into your engine bay in one piece. At this point, you can connect the coupler to your throttle body and tighten that up. Bolt down that new Roush airbox, reconnect any hoses or connections you removed in the first step, and your installation is complete. Wrapping this one up, guys, the Roush is going to be an extremely well-made and great-fitting intake that will add some power and sound for around $400 and continues to be the most popular option on the site for your 5-liter powered truck. Be sure to learn more about this intake and more right here at AmericanTrucks.com.